Hello, welcome back to Voices of Villanova. I'm Ryan Cullum, the Director of Public Relations.
And I'm Kamil, the Deputy of Outreach and Retention for SGA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Board. And today we're excited to have Michelle Charles here with us. Michelle, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Michelle Charles. I'm a senior, double majoring in political science and Spanish here at Villanova, and I'm also minoring in peace and justice. Just to tell you a little bit about what I do on campus, I'm the current president of Blue Key. I have 1 week left in my term. And then I will be moving on from that role. I serve as secretary for the Tazi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and I'm also a senior advisor for Get Woke Nova.
Amazing. Thank you for that.
So, how is your semester going so far?
This semester has definitely been interesting. I think that, college during COVID it's been challenging for sure, especially to be a senior at this time and have this kind of be our last year. But I think that I've been doing my best to make the most of it. February was tough with like quarantine and everything and with cases being so high. But now that the situation on campus is a little bit better and the weather's starting to get warmer as well, I think I've been able to do more, get out more, see my friends, and try to make the most of our last semester.
Good to hear.
So you currently serve as the president of the Blue Key Society on campus. Can you share a little bit more about your role and what led you to this position?
Yeah. So I joined Blue Key as a first-year student. I got in November, and up to that point, I didn't really feel like I'd found my place here at Villanova. I had like made some good friends, but I didn't feel like I had discovered what my thing was going to be here. So I applied for Blue Key. I had given tours and been part of admissions in high school. So I thought it would be like kind of a similar experience. And, when I got in and got to interact with a lot of the different members, especially with upperclassmen, I like figured out that this was kind of going to be my thing here. So that next semester, the spring of my freshman year, I applied to be a recruitment chair. And then for the 2018-2019 school year, I helped lead the charge in like bringing in the next class of new members. And then I applied for exec that spring, served as events coordinator, and then the following year I applied for president. I think that, this year has brought a lot of challenges that we didn't expect. So I became president last January. Obviously, like we didn't know what was coming for us this year. But I think that I have had the opportunity to work with a really, really amazing exec board, and just a team that runs like a well-oiled machine and has really been so instrumental in making sure that Blue Key has been able to run as an organization and serve our purpose to help prospective families with the college admissions process and help them get to know Villanova. But then also to like have fun while we're doing that and like, provide our members with the best experience like within the group socially as well. So yeah, it's definitely been a challenging year, but I've still had such a great time in this role, and I've met some of my best friends through the society, and I've made so many meaningful relationships in my time in leadership. So yeah, it's been really great.
Thank you for that.
Okay, Michelle, now I'm going to actually read a quote that you said. So, for a long time, I struggled with balancing my role as a tour guide with the stories of students that I know have struggled here for various reasons, but largely because of their identity and things they can't change. I figured out how to reconcile those two things and all of the work that is being put in to make Villanova better for students. For those students who struggle here because of their identity and things they can't change, what words of advice would you give to them so they can also find their own reconciliation?
That's a good question. I think for me, I found I was able to reconcile those kind of like disparate experiences by being a part of like making the change to like kind of integrate different aspects of like my Villanova experience. So I think that for a long time, and like still to some extent today, I feel like I kind of exist in two Villanovas. I have like my friends who are like part of the student of color community and the Black community more specifically, and like I try to participate in as much as that aspect of campus life as I can. And then I think that like within Blue Key, which has kind of like historically been more of like a mainstream Villanova activity that has involved like a largely white population, I think that I have really tried in my time in leadership to make that space accessible to students of color, and try to diversify the organization as much as possible. Because when I was a first year student, there like the Blue Key itself did not represent like the Villanova community well in terms of demographics. So I think I have been a part of making a lot of changes to have Blue Key not only reflect where Villanova is now, but where Villanova wants to be in terms of different types of diversity, whether that be racial, sexual orientation, even making sure that we have a good representation of people from all four colleges. So yeah, I think that that's one way that I've been able to kind of reconcile those experiences, but I know that doesn't work for everyone. So if you're a student of color, or a student from some kind of diverse background, and you get here and you feel like you want to kind of stick to students who may have a similar experience to you, that's totally fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I have a lot of friends who like that has been their experience at Villanova, and that's what makes them happy here. So I think that, I would say my advice would be kind of take the time to figure out what spaces you feel most comfortable in. And, if you feel like you want to change a space to make it fit you and to fit other people like you, go for it. If you don't want to, if that's not something that you're interested in doing, then that's okay. Like this is your experience. So there's no pressure to be like an innovator or change maker if that's like not what you feel passionate about.
Yeah, I think with Camille, we talked a lot about how students of color sometimes get kind of put the pressure of them to kind of like make things more diverse or kind of like educate like white students.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the role that you've played in kind of saying like, I'm not doing this because like I have to. If I wanted to, I don't have to. But
Mm-hmm.
you are, and you're kind of like paving the way for other students if they want to choose to do that too.
Thank you. And I think that, that you're absolutely right. I feel like students of color bear a disproportionate amount of the burden when it comes to doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work, especially on this campus and just like in the general conversation. So I think that, if like I have taken that on as, something I'm passionate about, but it's not necessarily my responsibility to do that just because I am a student of color.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think definitely like with that dichotomy, I think like seeing your experience helps younger students. I know myself as a member of Blue Key, coming into the society, that was something that I struggled with myself, being in a space where you are a minority once again, but you do still want to have that experience and make it known for other students that this is a welcoming environment. So I think you
Right.
definitely just set the bar and you set a level for a Villanova experience. But like you said, it's not the Villanova experience everybody wants to enjoy. But
Mm-hmm.
everybody will come in and sort of have their own experience. But your experience definitely has paved such a way for so many students already.
Thank you, Kamil. That means a lot to me.
So outside of the Blue Key Society, we see that you have clearly made such a big impact on the larger Villanova community. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about what else you are involved with?
Yeah. So like I said at the beginning, besides my involvement in Blue Key, I have been involved in Get Woke Nova since my freshman year. So I've had a few different positions within that campaign. Right now, I serve as a senior advisor, so that's more of a step back from the bigger leadership roles in that. But if you don't follow at Get Woke Nova on Instagram, you definitely should. But basically what we do is try to start a dialogue on campus around diversity, equity, and inclusion issues, primarily by sharing student stories via our social media platforms, but also by holding events on campus and collaborating with different organizations and different parts of the institution as well. So we've had collaborations with different colleges. We've hosted allyship workshops in various classrooms as well as for various organizations. So like we've done work with Blue Key, with Special Olympics, with Greek Life, orientation, as well as, for example, the School of Business and the School of Nursing and the School of Engineering as well. It started off as a communications project, so we're kind of based in CLAS and the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. But we, over my time in the campaign, we've done a lot to kind of expand our reach from just social media to like more of an on-campus presence. So that has been a big part of my time here, and it's been really awesome to. It started in the spring of 2017, so that was the semester before I got here. So it's been really cool to be a part of that campaign's growth in a really kind of crucial like beginning stage. And then additionally, I am, like I mentioned earlier, I'm the secretary for the Tazi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And that has been a really great way to connect with Black women on campus and in the greater community. I think, and also to get involved in service. So my chapter recently just won 10 awards at our North Atlantic Regional Conference, including first place for Chapter of the Year. So we really do a lot of incredible work in service and programming on and off campus. A lot of that shifted for COVID because we had to be kind of working in this virtual space like everyone. But yeah, that has been a big part of my time here. And then I've also served on a few different diversity, equity, and inclusion boards. So I serve on the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences DEI committee. I am part of the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Student Advisory Board, and I'm about to join the Equitas Task Force as a student representative. So yeah, I'm a busy girl, but I try to make it all work and, you know, give myself fully to everything that I've committed to, while trying to like have fun and, you know, also, you know, be a student.
You do it all, don't you?
It's really
I try my best.
It's really interesting to see just like what you're involved in and sort of how each of them sort of contribute to a specific area of growth or even just helping others. So it's amazing to just see all the opportunities that you've taken within your 4 years and you're still getting involved here. So it's awesome to see.
Thanks.
We also see that you're a member of the Divine Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority here on campus. For students not familiar with multicultural Greek life here at Villanova, could you tell us a little bit more about what your organization does?
Underneath the OFSL umbrella, I think often multicultural Greek organizations get forgotten on this campus or is not as well recognized as Panhellenic sororities and IFC fraternities. But I don't think that minimizes the amount of great work that our organizations do, even though they tend to be smaller and maybe like less recognizable on campus. I think that, you know, my chapter has really given me the opportunity to be a part of a lot of different service projects. And that's something that I wanted to get more involved in when I was looking to join. So I think that, you know, I feel like these organizations within the MGC umbrella are like really focused on service in various aspects. From what I know about Panhellenic organizations, they tend to have like a specific philanthropy that they focus on. In my sorority specifically, we have targets that are set by our international president that chapters across the country and for my sorority across the world try to hit with our programming. So I think that has given us the opportunity to have diversity within our impact as well, which I think is really cool.
Thank you for sharing. I think that definitely covered a lot of the topics, but I think it also just shows exactly what you guys like to do with the time on your line. And I think it's just amazing to see like the work and the dedication that you guys have to making change on a larger scale than just here in Villanova.
In the past year, life has thrown extreme curveballs at all of us. We lived through a global pandemic and some of the sweetest years of our lives. Racial tensions have come to a head in this country as protests rang through our streets as the fight for freedom continues. What has living through all of this taught you, and how has it impacted the way you live your life today?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that it's definitely been an interesting time to be a college student for various reasons. I feel like, there's nothing that can prepare you for the change that everything we've had to adapt to in the last year. And I think that, that was all of that stress was just exacerbated by the events of last summer. I think the hardest thing for me was that, as a Black American and a Black woman at Villanova, I think that it was shocking for me to see that what happened to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and kind of the viral nature of that was what it took for a lot of people on this campus and people in general to see that how real this problem was. But I think it propelled a lot of action, which I hope will continue. I think that the university has been pretty intentional about, following through, because I think one of my, one critique I would have in the time that I've served in various DEI roles in the university is that a lot of times we get a lot of nice words when things like this happen, or just in general, because the university knows that DEI should be a priority, but a lot of times in my time here, those words don't always turn into action. So I think that's the key in terms of addressing these issues, making sure that there are action steps. So going forward, I really hope to see some kind of diversity requirement across colleges. I really hope to see more students participating in an IGR type class, whether that is a requirement or not. I hope that more people the colleges will encourage that more as well. I think that, there are lots of ideas that students of color have in terms of ways that Villanova can serve them better. So I hope that Villanova will take some action steps there as well. And then in terms of what it's taught me personally, I think that I, like all of us, I've had to learn to adapt. And I think that I've become a lot more introspective in this time. I think I've learned a lot about myself and how to actually feel the things I'm feeling rather than push them away. Because I think that that leads to a lot of mental exhaustion, I think, especially in this time where, we've had to deal with so much and the way that we connect with each other looks a lot different. But yeah, I'm mostly glad that, even through the pandemic and everything that has happened, I've gotten to stay connected with my friends. I've gotten to be on campus for my senior year. So yeah, even though there's been a lot of loss, I think there's still things to be happy about and optimistic for going forward.
By mental exhaustion, were you talking more about just the pandemic in general, or kind of being a person of color at Villanova?
I think all of it. I think that there's a level of mental gymnastics you have to do, or that I feel like I've had to do, as a person of color, just navigating a predominantly white institution like Villanova. And especially, I think, occupying some of the spaces that I have been in. I am the first person of color to serve as president of Blue Key. So, navigating that position and wanting to do the best that I can, and set things up within Blue Key as an institution to make sure that I'm not the last person of color to serve in this role, and that hopefully in the coming years, there'll be somebody else who I've hopefully made things a little bit easier for. And then also like doing all of that and then having the added stress of the pandemic that we all have. I think that that can be definitely exhausting at times, but I think I've been able to figure out like ways to like my coping mechanisms and how I can get through things, which I think is so important for everyone to do.
I was just gonna piggyback off of the comment you made earlier, sort of about like that mental exhaustion piece. I think it's just something that like a lot of students deal with, but like you said, being a student of color at Villanova and then experiencing a pandemic, I think it's sort of like put us at like a 180 within this past year, because you're already trying to do the work, and like you said, for somebody who is in these organizations actively working to make change on campus, you're already kind of stressed with these things. But I do appreciate the work that you've done and do see that it has been having an impact on our university. But I do like sort of earlier how you said the words from the university isn't always going to be enough. I think as the student body continues to put a little bit more pressure on administration and demand that we do have action for things that are happening in the world around us, then we can approach a level of respect and a level of something that we actually do see making change. But I think until the administration and university, like you said earlier, actually do have action steps, things will sort of remain at a head until we can actually get around that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
What is an area of Villanova you would like to see grow in regard to DNI?
Yeah, I think that it has to start with just increasing representation in general. So the percentage of Black students here hovers around 4 or 5% year to year, and I think that I would really like to see that go up. Villanova hovers around like 70-75% white students. So I would love to see a greater like proportion of students of color here, something that's more reflective of like how maybe America actually looks. So I think that's the first step, but that's why like DEI, emphasizing every letter in that is so important, because you can have a diverse population, but if you're not doing the work to make sure that students from diverse backgrounds feel like they belong here, then there's no point. I want to see the university like really listen to students of color and students from various diverse backgrounds about what they want and what they need here to make the experience better for them. And so, we don't consistently hear stories through various platforms about how students have been discriminated against or how students don't feel at home here at Villanova. So I think that's the first thing that I'd like to see. I'd also really love to see some kind of physical space for Black students, and then maybe for students, like for other students of color as well, or maybe starting with a general like kind of multicultural center, and then possibly having branches to more specific groups. I think that CASA does a lot of great work with students from diverse backgrounds, but I think that they are definitely overwhelmed. Even though they do an amazing job, they do so much work and have so much on their plate that I would love to see another office or space lighten their load a bit. And I think that, CASA is not necessarily just for students of color. So I would love to see some kind of multicultural center. Another university that I think Villanova like kind of gets compared to sometimes has a center for Black studies where they have a designated space that is for Black students. So I would absolutely love to see something like that in the coming years. And I think that's like Villanova is very much capable of providing a space like that for its students.
I agree.
Definitely.
That's a space like that we've all sort of been fighting for. I think since we all heard about the grant that has come to university, it's been a lot of questions, sort of what's been done with that money. And although I think we know things don't happen overnight, I think making sure that there is a space for us to feel comfortable here, like you said, there's really no point in increasing in population if you don't have the resources to make students feel home here. And I think just having that space where students can go and be in the camaraderie, be around their community, and feel like there actually is a place for them here is super important to a Villanova experience.
Exactly.
First of all, congratulations on accomplishing so much within your time here and reaching your final semester with us. The university will be sad to see you go, but as you know, you always have a home here full of support. What can the Wildcats expect to see from you in your future days?
That's a great question. To be quite honest with you, I'm still kind of figuring it out. I do know that I want to go to law school. I also know that I don't want to go to law school like in the fall. So I am going to be taking at least 1 year to hopefully work in the field, in kind of like the legal political field a little bit, gain some experience. Also, I've been a student since kindergarten, so I think I need a bit of a break from education. But yeah, that's the long-term goal, and then after that I really hope to practice some type of public interest law, and then maybe run for office someday down the line. So yeah, we'll see. That's kind of the 5 to 10 year plan.
That's very impressive, and we're super excited to see all the great things you do in the future. We just want to thank you again for letting us interview you today. You were an amazing guest.
Thank you so much once again, and thank you everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, and just keep your eye out because we're having more of these coming out soon.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Go Cats.